Okay, so you'll see there you've got a little recording consent that's probably popped up on your screen there. So just to let you know that we're going to get going now on the session today. Okay, so welcome to our session. My name is Erica Farmer. Here we go. Got loads of people joining now. A bit of a flurry of folk joining. Danielle says just on my lunch break, pop my camera on. Yes, of course, Danielle. That will be lovely. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. If you've just joined, do pop your cameras on. It'll be great to see everybody's faces. I appreciate you might be scoffing some lunch at the moment as well, so that's absolutely fine. Do pop your cameras on when you're ready to go. So let me just do a brief introduction. My name is Erica Farmer. I'm a founder and director of Welcome to Learning Limited, part of the Quantum Rise Talent Group. And we're a digital learning consultancy working with apprentices and corporate learning and development to look at things like leadership skills, leadership development, how we increase our impact online, whether we're working virtually, remotely, whether we're working hybridly. So maybe you might have some colleagues who are still working remotely and some colleagues who are in the office or the building that you might work in, or you might have a mix of all of those things. So we work with organizations to support them and support with their engagement strategies, their learning strategies and coaching to make sure everybody's getting the right support that they need. As I've talked about, the session is being recorded today, so the recording will be made available to you. And for those guys who've been unable to attend the live session today. So we're on Zoom today, and like I said, if you can turn your cameras on, that would be great. Bottom left-hand corner, do stay on mute for the session. We'll be using quite a lot of the chat today, and I'm going to introduce you to some more Zoom functions because I'm going to really want you to get into the session today. I really want you to contribute and give me your thoughts around things. So there's other ways that you can engage on Zoom. You might be aware of some of the engagement tools that Zoom has. Some of them you might have used, some of them you might not have used. So you might have some emoticons in your participant box, or you might have a reactions button on your main toolbar at the bottom. If you have that, what I'd like you to do is just give me an emoticon. Just give me a thumbs up or a wave or a hands up or a smiley face, something like that, so I can see you're there. Fantastic, brilliant. And if you've got the participants box up, which is the picture of the little people on the main toolbar, you'll see all of those hands up and claps and thumbs up and all that kind of stuff pops up too next to everybody's names as well. So thank you so much. So that's one way we're going to interact with each other today. The other way I'd like you to do is open up your chat box. If you haven't got that open already, do please open that up for me. You will find that under the little speech bubble on your main toolbar. I'd just like you to give me a little hello in the chat once you've done that. So give me a little hello. Tell me where you are in the country right now. So tell me where you are right now, just so we can get a bit of a feel for our geography, our attendees' geography today. So we've got Farnborough, Cornwall, London, Wiltshire, Essex, Romford, Northamptonshire, Norwich. Fantastic. Let's get a little hello from everybody and let me know where you are in the country at the moment. Nottingham, Danielle is, Sophia in London. Brilliant, thank you so much. So we're going to be using the chat quite a lot in the session today. So we've looked at our reactions and we've looked at our chat. The third piece of engagement or interactions I'm going to ask you to do is the Annotate Toolbar. So what you'll see, if you've got the full version of Zoom, you should be able to hover your mouse to the top of your screen. So just do that for me now. And you'll see that it says Viewing Erica Farmer's Screen. If you see the options box next to that, you'll see a drop down that has some options in there. And you'll see an annotate option that looks very similar to the one that's on my screen right now. You should see an annotate option. If you just click on annotate for me, you'll notice it brings up a secondary toolbar on your screen. And that's your Annotate Toolbar. If everybody's got that, just give me a little thumbs up or give me if you've got any concerns or questions, let me know in the chat. What I'd like you to do is just go to the draw tool on the Annotate Toolbar. Thanks, Michelle, that's great. And I'd like you to just click on the draw tool for me. So you'll see that you can actually start interacting with my slides, with my screen right now. So just click on the draw tool for me. And I'd like you, there we go, we've got some people already drawing on the screen. I'd like everybody to have a go for me. So you're hovering your mouse at the top of the screen and you're going on Annotate and you're clicking on your Annotate toolbar and you're interacting with me by drawing on my slides right now. Here we go. To have a play with the different parts of the Annotate toolbar, I'd like you to type something. If you wish to type something just by clicking on the text option, you can click on stamps, you can click on arrows. Here we go. We're getting really creative right now. So I'm just going to give you a second just to get used to that. Have a play with the different options on your Annotate. Here we go. Love it. Brilliant. Excellent. If you don't have option to that for whatever reason, you might not have the full version of Zoom or you might have the browser version. Don't worry. What I'll ask you to do is when we use exercises like this, you can put your thoughts into the chat and I'll put them onto the slides for you already there. So brilliant. Thank you so much. Look at that. Lots of interaction and annotation for me right now. Appreciate that. Okay, we're going to move on. So what I'd like you to do is just go back to your Annotate toolbar. Just click on the little dustbin for me. You'll see a little dustbin that's towards the right-hand side. That takes off, that deletes your Annotate. So you'll see that everything on the screen will start to come off of that as well. And that means we can just move on without our annotates sticking on the screen for me right there. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to be using our annotates through the session today as well. And like we said, we can also write text on our screens, which I'm going to ask you to do in a minute. So you'll need your Annotate toolbar shortly. You can change the colors and things like that should you want to as well. So we're talking today around heading back into the workplace, and we're going to understand what we mean by mental toughness and how our mental toughness can support us in this way. But what I'm curious to hear from you is, what are the things that you're concerned about heading back into the workplace? What's the things on your mind at this time? So go and get your Annotate toolbar for me, the one we were just using. Go and select the text option for me, the T, and you can change the color of the text by clicking the format box in the middle should you want to. And I'd just like you to type on the screen for me, what are the kind of things that you're worried about? Or maybe worried might be too strong a word. Perhaps you're concerned about some things. You might have a little bit of anxiety about some things. You might not be too sure around what's to expect on heading back. We've been out of the formal workplace for such a long time. You might have been on furlough. You might be in a new role. You might be looking to study, of course, in your apprenticeship alongside your job, which is hard enough as it is, really. So let's just get some thoughts around that on the whiteboard here. Okay, here we go. So just having to pay for the train, traveling on the train, being around people again. I'm hearing that quite a lot from people right now. Don't be afraid if you are typing on top of each other. I can move you around a little bit as well. And don't be afraid to change your color of your text and all that kind of stuff. Here we go. Brilliant. Okay, so I've worked throughout the pandemic, but I'm nervous for everybody else to come back as it's been such a long time since we've worked together. It's going to be a strange dynamic, isn't it? And we're going to kind of have to think about how we perhaps communicate more in that in-person space compared to what we did before, or perhaps you're still working virtually and you'll be in more of a hybrid space that we talked about earlier. We've still got concerns about things like social distancing, being safe, COVID secure. Now having to commute, actually those kind of extra hours either side of the day that we might not have if we're working from home. What to talk about other than COVID? I love that. I know it's kind of been our whole sense of conversation for the last 18 months, really, isn't it? I've not met any of my colleagues before because I joined during lockdown. I know a lot of people in that space. I think that's really important because you just know each other virtually. You've not actually met in person yet, so that's a good one. Time spent getting ready. So how do I plan my day? What kind of structures and processes do I need to now put in place that I haven't had to do prior to this? speaking to people. That's definitely an introvert who wrote that, I think, rather than an extrovert. Moving back into London, yeah, in regards to that, having to pay for the train, the distraction of being in the office and being around people again, and maybe not being as productive, being around people. Yeah, I think there's some really interesting things there in terms of being concerned about this. And this is where we're going to start thinking about mental toughness. And I'm going to introduce you to that concept, and we'll talk about some practical applications of how you can consider your mental toughness and how that can support and enable you in your transition back to the workplace, if that's where we're going with this as well. Thank you so much for your openness and your honesty on the screen like that. Really appreciate that. So if you've come across mental toughness before, just give me a thumbs up in the reactions. If you haven't come across mental toughness before, give me another reaction, whatever it might be. Just give me another reaction. So if you have come across it, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't come across it, give me another reaction. You might need to close down your Annotate Toolbar to go and get your reactions again. So we've got a few people that have come across it before, and it's new to a few others. Okay. Thank you for that. Mental toughness is a personality trait. It's part of who we are. It determines in some part how we respond mentally when we're exposed to any kind of stresses or challenges, pressures, stress in general, irrespective of the context. So irrespective if it's personal, irrespective if it's professional, it could be a combination of both. Suzanne, great question. Is it the same as resilience? You're already ahead of me. You're already thinking outside the box there. There's a slight difference between mental toughness and resilience, and this is the analogy that I tend to use. So mental toughness is a more proactive way of dealing with stress and challenges, and thinking about some of the stress and challenges that you put on the board earlier. Resilience is typically around bounce back ability. Something happens and you either bounce back to your normal base state pretty quickly, because you might just be that kind of person, or it might not be a massive stress or challenge that you've overcome, or it might be that you take a long time to bounce back. It might be a significant issue that you've dealt with for whatever reason. Could be emotionally, could be physically, whatever it might be. And again, that depends on the type of person you are, how much experience you've had in that similar situation, perhaps the support that you've got around you in terms of your friends and family, but also the way that you think. And that's what we talk about with mental toughness. So the way I describe it is, resilience is around getting hit by the train and getting back up after, sweeping yourself up, standing back up after being hit by that train. And that's pretty tough, right? Mental toughness is around the coping strategies and the way you think about what you're going to do. So you see that train coming down the track, and I think, right, I've already spotted that something's going to happen. So what am I going to do when that train gets really close to me? Am I going to get out of the way of the train? Am I going to let the train hit me because I know I'm going to get up? I'm going to do something else. So mental toughness, understanding your mental toughness is a proactive approach to thinking about stresses and challenges. So not just letting them hit you and floor you, but actually what can you do in advance to be able to deal with that challenge or your stress that's coming down the road. So we know through the research, and there's a huge amount of research done, particularly in the educational field, particularly around students taking exams, that actually more people who have an element of mental toughness are likely to increase their performance quite significantly. Because these are the kind of people that understand that there's challenges coming down the road, understand that they're going to feel slightly different about stuff, and consider what they're going to do in advance. They tend to be more agile in terms of their positive approach in life, positive behaviors, thinking about what I can do rather than what I can't do. Or actually, I'm going to be in that space where I'm going to take control. I'm going to try and influence the outcome, rather than being in that victim space where actually things are happening to me and I feel paralyzed and I can't really do anything about it. We often find people who embrace their mental toughness actually have a good alignment with their well-being. So because they're managing stress a lot more effectively, and they understand how they think about things, because the way that we think drives our behavior, drives our language, drives our emotion. There's significant linkage there. there's a key there in regards to well-being, because I feel more in control. I feel I know what I'm doing, and I'm not just kind of wailing from day to day. I feel that I'm starting to flourish rather than just languish, in that kind of positive psychology way. I'm not just being okay all the time. I'm really enjoying what I do in my life, and I feel that I'm in control. And because of that, I can live up to my aspirations and my dreams, and I can feel that I can achieve things because I've got that kind of strength within me that I've understood, and I know what that looks and feels like because I've got my coping strategies. And actually from that, the sky's the limit. You guys can do whatever you want to do. And people with the mental toughness who understand that aren't the people that say, I can't do that because. These are the kind of people that say, I can do that, or if I can't do it yet, this is what I'm going to do to be able to get myself to the place where I want to get it to as well. So it's really thinking around, what do you want to achieve? How do you want to feel? How do you want to understand yourself? And really, what does that mental toughness mean to you? How can you harness this going back into the workplace? And it's really understanding how you perceive the world and your place within it when something happens. It's what we call metacognition, thinking about thinking, which feels a bit weird when you say that for the first time. Why would I think about how I think? But it's almost the opposite to reflection. Reflection is the space where we think, okay, that's what went well, that's what I could do differently next time. I might try something different. This is the forward thinking of that. What can I do? What can I put in place now that's going to help me unlock my potential and enable me to deal with these stresses and challenges? You can measure mental toughness. There's actually a psychometric. Give me a thumbs up if anyone's done a personality profile here before, a psychometric or a measurement of some kind. Give me a thumbs up in the reactions if you've done that before. Yeah, you might do a DISC or an Insights or a Myers-Briggs or something like that. This is very similar. Mental toughness is, because it's a personality trait, you can measure it. You can measure it in these different ways. You can measure how you feel in control in your life. Are you someone who feels in control and puts things in place? So you might buy your train tickets the day before the train. You might turn up 45 minutes before the train's due to leave, or you might turn up 2 minutes before the train's going to leave and you'll buy your ticket on the train. There's no right or wrong about that. It's just how people manage their own mental toughness, manage their own lack of control. You've got emotional control. Are you someone who fires off if something happens? Are you openly stressed, openly frustrated, openly emotional about things? And sometimes that can impact your other people that you're working with. Or are you somebody that kind of keeps that inside, and actually you will deal with your own emotions, but you don't fire up like a volcano or affect other people? So that kind of control, your mental toughness in terms of your control in your life, how you think about control. We've got commitment. Are you somebody who's motivated by achievements or not? Are you somebody that's motivated by goals? So going back into the workplace, you might have a set of goals, or you might not have considered this yet. So it might be actually on day one, I want to go and speak to the people that I haven't met yet because I onboarded during COVID. Or I might want to have a one-to-one with my manager within the first week. Or actually, I might not have any goals at all. I might just want to kind of go in and see how it goes. But remember, we feel more control when we feel like we can influence things. We feel prepared. That gives us a sense of confidence. And that's something else around mental toughness, is our confidence. How confident do we feel in our own abilities to either do our job, to get to our workplace, to feel like we're going to be productive after the huge amount of change that we've been through in the 18 months? Or do you feel underconfident? Have you got a weakness in confidence, and you recognize that, and that's something that you need to do about it, and that's part of your mental toughness? Or your interpersonal confidence. Do you feel confident with other people? So it might be you've got low interpersonal confidence, but you do want to go and meet the people that you haven't met yet because you're onboarded in COVID. So actually, you're going to have to kind of pull something within you to say, I'm going to go and have that conversation. I'm going to feel confident in front of those people, that line manager that I've not met yet, that task that I've not done in that job, working with that group of people. Remember, this all comes down to kind of mindset, preparation, making sure you feel okay within yourself. And that's where our mental toughness comes in. And how we respond to challenge is the last part of mental toughness. Are you somebody that likes to take a bit of risk? Are you somebody that kind of likes to rock up and see how it goes? Or are you somebody that's very risk averse and actually you need to plan out step by step by step by step what's going to happen? If that's you, that's okay. But again, remember, if we're going into significant change, if we're going on the train, we're worried about social distancing, those kind of things, we need to consider what can we do to feel in control or influence that situation as well. So what other conversations can we have with the people around us? What can we communicate to our line manager in advance around how we're feeling, rather than just rocking up on the day and just hoping it's going to be okay? And last but not least is our learning orientation. So are we somebody that learns from situations? Are we somebody that makes mistakes? Because mistakes are okay, as long as you don't make the same mistake over and over and over again. So somebody that's got a lot of learning orientation in their mental toughness will try something, learn something different from it, and then apply that new skill or knowledge or behavior next time they do it. So they're agile learners. So if you're thinking about, what's it going to be the first day? Am I, what do I need to learn? What do I need to understand? How do I now use that new strategy in day 2 in the workplace, day 3 in the workplace, etc., etc., etc. So that's our breakdown. We can measure mental toughness. We can measure this part of our personality. So let's think about control. We like to feel that we're in control, but we can't control anything. The only thing we can control is ourselves. We can't control other people. So that's what we call our circle of concern. You might have come across this Stephen Covey, Seven Habits of Effective People. Great book. And he talks about what can you do with your mindset to feel that you can influence your situation? What can you do with your mindset to feel that you're being proactive, that you can do something to make yourself feel better? So I want you to think about, I'm going to ask you this in a minute, what are the kind of things that you can influence and you can put into practice and put into place prior to heading back? Because if you've got that reactive focus that we talked about earlier, you're going to feel like you're being done to all the time. You're going to go into the workplace and you're going to worry, and any kind of concerns and stresses that you've got will be exaggerated because you won't have those coping strategies that we've talked about before. So what are the things that we concern ourselves with generally day to day? Just pop some thoughts in the chat for me. What do we typically concern ourselves with that we can't really influence or control as people generally? Just give me some thoughts in the chat. Our others' views of ourselves. I love that, Lucy. Anita says, what other people think about us. We can influence it, we can't control it, and we're over concerned about stuff like that. 100%. What other things do you think we concern ourselves with that we can't control? We can't do anything about. Other people's actions and behaviors are absolutely. We can't reach into someone's mind and control what they do. What other things? Travel disruptions. Absolutely. If your train's going to be late, your train's going to be late. There might be things you can do around that. Remember that proactive space. When's the next train? Do I have my line manager's telephone number? Can I text somebody, etc., etc. The weather, Sophia. Absolutely. If you turn up absolutely soaked because it's been raining, you can do your best to go into the toilet and try and dry your hair and all the rest of it. But it is what it is. Don't let these things affect your mindset or your mood. Health and illness. Absolutely, Suzanne. So, you might be looking after yourself, exercising, eating well, concerned about your well-being, but there's other things that do happen. So we need to understand that. Traffic, Emma says. Laura says, not having control when we must go into the office and how often. Now, you might be able to negotiate that potentially, but actually you might, as part of your role, have signed up to a set of working hours, etc., in your contract. Then actually that's what you've agreed to. What's already happened, Nick? I love that. So how many times, I know I do this quite a lot, I have to kind of raise my awareness to myself when I do this, when you think, oh God, that happened and I should have done that, I should have said this and they said that, and why didn't I say that? We tend to kind of catastrophize over things that have already happened in the past, and that serves us no purpose whatsoever. Zara, family issues, emergencies. Yeah, if you need to go because you've got a family concern, a health concern, something like that, You know, that's the kind of things that we get het up and worried about and we can't always control. But what can we influence? What can we start to not always control, but what are the kind of things we can influence? Either going back into the workplace or our preparedness to do that. Our schedule, Anita says, brilliant. Our reactions to situations, Lucy, I love that. Especially if you're somebody who struggles with that emotional control. You might be someone who blows up a little bit or worries a lot about things. And actually, you can start to train yourself to not always have that pit of the stomach dread that you might be thinking of. Managing your time, reactions to other people's behaviors, absolutely. These are all the things that you can control and you can influence. People we spend time with. Yeah, do you spend time with positive people that help you grow and develop? Or do you spend people who are perhaps not so positive? And what does that mean to your development and your mood, for example? Being organized, forward planning, stuff available perhaps the night before or whatever it might be. You might be someone who creates their lunches for the week and stuff like that. You know, you might have a routine that just makes you feel more confident in yourself. And I think that's some brilliant stuff that's going to help with this. And this is all about what we call mindset. Give me a thumbs up if you've come across any thinking or reading or training about mindset. Just give me a little thumbs up. It doesn't matter if you haven't or if you haven't before. It's quite common, kind of originally created by a Harvard professor, Carol Dweck. And Carol talks about we all have a mindset, we all have a growth mindset, we have a fixed mindset. And what these things tend to mean is, you know, whether I can ultimately do stuff, I've got the mindset to say I can do that, or I can learn that, or I don't know that yet. You know, the power of that word yet transforms that whole sentence. Or are you someone that says, I just can't do that, I can't do spreadsheets, I can't do Excel, I can't do maths, can't sing, I can't run, you know, all these kind of things. Think about how you feel when you say you can versus you can't, and what are the types of things that you hear from the people around you, for example. So I'd like you to, in the chat, what's one thing that you've told yourself in the past that you can't do? Just pop it in the chat for me. What's one thing, or someone said to you, hey, what about this? And you go, I can't do that because of this. Just give me a thought in the chat, whatever it might want to be. I always used to say, I can't do maths. I'm very good. I'm good at English. I'm good at art. Can't do maths. I can do maths. It's a skill. I just need to learn how to do it. I need to put some more effort into it. So just give me your thoughts in the chat. What's that one thing that you've said before? Can't do that. Can't draw. Yeah, thanks, Laura. Thanks for getting us started. Lucy says, can't succeed in construction because I'm a woman. Yeah, absolutely. What else can't, you know, what have you said before that you can't do? Can't dance. Simran, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. But again, it can't be in big crowds. Okay, so sometimes it might be a more kind of internal thing that you might be worried about. Can't apply for a certain job because you don't feel good enough. Absolutely, there's all of these things. It's like this story that we tell ourselves, this narrative that comes from probably our impression from other people, really, things that we hear in the news, social media, from our friends, our family. But you know what? My favorite quote of all time is this from Henry Ford, GM Motors. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. This is the story you tell yourself. So the more you tell yourself you can't do something, that's what you're going to believe. If you start thinking about what you can do, this is where you open up possibilities and start to increase that circle of influence, circle of control that we talked about earlier, rather that circle of concern of kind of things happening to me rather than me happening to the world, as it were. Yeah, can't run a marathon, exactly. All of those things you've put in the chat, you can do, you can train to do, you can learn to do, you can do. Most of those things are skills. So it's this, again, it's this weird narrative. We choose the door. Anyone kind of do scenario-based reading or role play, anything like that in the past? you choose, are you going to go through the can door, or are you going to go through the can't door? And this will be something that sits with you for the rest of your life in terms of your career. Are you going to be a can't person? Are you going to be blinkered in the way you approach things? Are you going to be someone that kind of is that victim, or you put your head under the parapet to say, oh, I couldn't possibly deliver that presentation, I couldn't possibly, be the team leader for that project? But actually, to fulfill your own potential, and this is where the mental toughness really starts to help in terms of your coping strategy, you want to be someone actually that says, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. I might not have all the information that I need. I might not have done this before. I think I can do that. I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm going to do that a different way. And my mental toughness, I'm going to build those coping strategies. So, if something just hit me, or if I'm a bit worried about something like that, I've got my ducks in a row. I've got my things ready. I've got a good relationship with my line manager. I know what I'm doing when I'm going into work tomorrow. And it's all these things that enable us to make us feel a bit better. If you're somebody that struggles with commitment, I've got a couple of friends here that'll say, yeah, of course I'll do that, absolutely. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't get done. You might worry about things, you might have other priorities. Actually, something just understanding how you can do stuff and breaking things down and goal setting is a really good way to make sure you're achieving either personal or professional goals. It might be something like, I'm going to start exercising more, I'm going to take more risks at work, I'm going to put myself forward for that promotion, whatever it might be. And you might have heard, give me a thumbs up if you've heard of the GROW model before. It's used quite a lot in coaching, the GROW model. So what's your goal? What's your reality? What's the options that are going to help you to get to that goal? And how much do you want to do it? Yeah, I've got a couple of thumbs up there. And actually, this is a really nice model that if you do have something that you want to achieve, or you're not sure whether you do want to achieve it at work or professionally, whatever it might be, you can ask yourself those 4 questions on the screen right there. What is it that you want to achieve? What is your goal? Is it to get the next role? Is it to move into a different team? Is it to get a different job? Is it to achieve your qualification? But where are you right now in relation to that? Are you behind where you want to be? Are you ahead of where you want to be? And why is that? What's really going on for you? And I've got a friend who's a great coach, and she always says to me, when are we going to stop dancing around the daisies, and when are we going to grasp the nettle? When are we going to really get to what's really going on about how you're feeling about things, going back into the workplace, achieving that promotion, achieving your apprenticeship, whatever it might be? And then what are your options and choices that are going to enable you to get there, that are going to support you in the goal that you want to get to? And you know what? It's around this point that if that goal isn't really your true goal, if you're just kind of saying things to people for the sake of it, you're actually going to lose momentum and lose motivation at this point. This is your will. What actions have you got in place that are going to support you achieve that? So your first goal might be, I'm just going to get through my first day at work. That might be my first goal. I'm going to meet my team and I'm going to get through my first day at work. And at the moment, I'm feeling a bit iffy about that. I'm not entirely sure. I've got to take the train in the morning. I'm not sure if we're going to have distance between us. I'm going to wear my mask and that kind of stuff. So what options have I got? I could take an earlier train. I could take a later train. I could make sure I've got a spare mask. I could get into work a bit early so I've got plenty of space around me, whatever it might be. And then actually, what actions am I going to take off the back of that? So I need to make sure I go to bed at 10:30. I got my lunch ready. I got this ready. I got, I know where I am. I've got to speak to my assessor or my tutor or my trainer or my apprenticeship. I've got a X, Y, Z. So it's a really nice little self kind of talk that enables you to coach yourself effectively. Another nice coaching methodology and activity here that might be interesting for you is visualization. So if you are worried about going back into the workplace, actually something like mental imagery, visualizing yourself back in your office, at your desk, with your colleagues, having a coffee at the coffee station or whatever it might be, going to get some lunch with your buddies or whoever, that kind of playing that movie, playing that picture through your head is another way of you just getting prepared and feeling more confident that you're going to achieve something at the end of the day and make sure you feel okay by the end of that day. It might be getting on the train. It might be making sure that you're there on time. Whatever it is, you're going to feel more positive, and that's going to drive that determination to succeed. And again, all plays into that mental toughness. It allows you to stay more focused and think clearly. So don't be afraid just to run, maybe before you go to bed at night, the night before, whatever it might be, just run that movie through in your head. This is, well, you know, how do I feel around this? You know, what's going to happen? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And this is, and it's almost like practice. You see, professional sports people do this stuff all the time. And then our last part of our mental toughness, getting ourselves ready for the workplace, is our risk orientation. You know, how are you someone that likes to take a bit of a risk? Do you take a risk benefit type analysis of approach? So actually, if I do need to get on that train that's at that time, I know it's going to be busy. So actually, I might take that earlier train, or I might make sure I've got an extra mask on, or I've got my sanitizer with me, or actually, I'm going to take an earlier train and I'm going to get into work earlier, whatever your thoughts might be on that. And you can do a bit of a management of risk around how you take that through the day and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So understand, you started the session identifying the risks by how you're feeling about going back into the workplace. What are the risks that you might come up against? Analyze that, put that action plan into place, implement that, and then learn from it, our learning orientation that we talked about earlier as well. So, you know, it's actually, you can take quite a risk-based approach to these kind of things, but don't be afraid to be curious. Don't be afraid to go and understand what other people are doing, and what's your line manager doing on their first day? What's your colleagues doing on their first day? And what can you learn from them as well? So based on everything we've talked about so far, I'm really interested to hear from you, just in the chat for me. How does all of this stuff, mental toughness, getting prepared, circle of control, circle of influence, circle of concern, being proactive as opposed to reactive, in the chat, tell me, how does this all apply to heading back into the workplace? Just give me your thoughts in the chat. How does this apply to getting ready, feeling confident, feeling better about whether it's a hybrid workplace, going back into the office, meeting people for the first time? How does this help? Just give us your thoughts in the chat. Simon says it makes you feel better prepared and more confident. Yeah, I love that, Simon. Zara says it helps you be prepared. It's a massive thing around preparedness here. Lucy says we're facing new challenges that we haven't faced before. We want to feel prepared for how we can react to those to protect our own well-being. Definitely. You know, there's such a focus on well-being now, isn't there? Our mental well-being, our physical and our financial well-being as well. We often forget that. And actually, how do we make sure we're okay to be okay? And that's what we're talking about. Michelle says, stop overthinking. Yeah, catastrophizing, you know, worrying about what might go wrong. Actually, if we spend this time getting prepared, thinking about how in control do we feel, where are our commitments, where are our goals, how confident do we feel about things, and, you know, are we going to challenge ourselves around other things, stretch ourselves? Absolutely. So the confidence is a big one, and you'll have a lot of people who are struggling with their confidence going back into the workplace. And a nice way to manage how you're feeling in terms of your confidence, you've probably done a SWOT analysis before. Give me a thumbs up if you've done a SWOT analysis on your workplace or your job or your apprenticeship, something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Do a SWOT analysis on you. Do a SWOT analysis on how you're feeling right now. Do a SWOT analysis on thinking, well, I'm going to be great at this bit because I know I am. I'm going to be really strong, really confident in that bit. Actually, what I'm not so good at is this bit, this weakness bit here. So the opportunities for me might be, I don't know, having a buddy to spend the day with, or getting some retraining, or, you know, the opportunities might be that one-to-one with my manager. It might be talking to my partner the night before and just making sure I'm feeling okay about stuff, planning my route to work, making sure I know what I'm going to wear, for example. But actually, what are the threats to that as well? So what are the things that might go wrong and how I need to prepare for that? We've talked quite a lot about that already. And thank you so much. Sophia's just put a great link into the chat around SWOT analysis that sits on the Association of Apprentices website. So thank you so much, Sophia, for that as well. Things we've got to think about, particularly when we're coming back into the workplace, And I heard a few of you already say around, I'm worried, I'm concerned, I'm overthinking. You know, we can't give in to that inner critic. We can't get into that person that's saying, you can't do this. You've got to challenge yourself. You've got to think about, you know, I can do this. We're all very competent people who go about our daily lives every day, and we achieve things, and you've achieved things. You're on your apprenticeship, you're achieving things every day in the workplace. And actually, you know, making sure that we feel like the lion and we don't feel like the kitten. You know, we don't give in to this inner critic, because that's what makes you feel rubbish all the time. And you know what? 99% of what you think might happen will never happen. This catastrophization of God, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. My manager's going to be annoyed with me because I'm going to be late, and you know, actually 99% of that rubbish, that head trash that people call it, is never going to happen. So if you feel yourself in that space when you're really anxious the night before, you're worried about things, that's a good mantra for you to have. 99% of what you're worried and what you're feeling right now is never going to happen. Because think about the probability and you'll worry less. So if you're thinking at the moment, 100% I'm going to be late, 100% I'm going to have a crap day back, 100% my manager is going to be annoyed, 100% I'm not going to know what to do in my job. Actually, do you know what? That's going to be 5%. That's not going to be 100%. So let's start to tie this up to, we're coming towards the end of our session now. And in the chat, I'm really interested around, you know, what are your practical tips that you're going to take away from today's session that will enable you to feel perhaps a little bit better, 2 points better, 3 points better, 10% better of going back into the workplace today. Sarah says, I read something that we always think about what could go wrong, but we don't think about what could go right. Absolutely, Zara. I think what you've summed up there really nice is exactly what we've been talking about today, that mental toughness. What's my proactivity rather than my negativity, my reaction? What's my positive rather than my negative? So what have you written down today? Just pop it in the chat for me. And what's those practical tips that you're going to take away and you're going to implement prior to going into the workplace? Let's get something from everybody on the call. What's your practical tips that you're going to take away? Or you might already have in place. You think, you know, I'm going to do that. Let's share it with everybody on the call, because it might be something we've not covered today in today's session. Okay, my worries probably won't be as big a deal. Discuss my concerns with my line manager. Brilliant. Michelle says, being flexible to change, planning ahead, speaking about my feelings. Definitely, I love that. Emily says, plan. Yeah, definitely. Simon says, think about what might happen and cut them off one by one, but don't catastrophize. Just make sure you're ready in your strategies to be able to do that. I like the idea of doing a SWOT. Michelle says, on myself, yeah, how often do we think about how we think? And that's what we've been talking about today, so I like that. Lucy says, thinking positively to enlarge my circle of influence and not worry about what I can't control. Love that. Anita says, put in place some plans ahead of my first day as the office. Who am I going to go to lunch with? Something as simple as that can make such a difference to your day, and I think that's brilliant. Suzanne says, talk to somebody else in the same position as me. Yeah, problem shared is problem half, they say, don't they? Positive mental attitude. Brilliant. Focus on what I can control and don't overthink here. Some really great tips here. You've covered most of these already. Remember, visualize just having a really successful today, a day. Understand how you feel emotionally, mentally, and physically. So it might be, this is called a check-in exercise. This is a really good one. It might be for the first 5 minutes of your day, you sit there and you check in with yourself and you think, okay, emotionally, on a scale of 0 to 10, how am I feeling right now? Am I a bit happy? Am I a bit sad? Am I worried? Am I a 5 or am I 10? That's okay. Just write that number down, 0 to 10 emotionally. How do I feel right now? Mentally, how do I feel right now? Am I distracted? Am I thinking about a lot of things? Am I overthinking things? Just really raise your awareness to yourself, and then physically do the same as well. 0 to 10, how am I feeling right now? Have I got a bit of a sore back? Am I not sitting properly? Do I need to sit up better? Am I, holding stress in my jaw or my tension? Drop my shoulders, get more comfortable sat in my chair. Just a little thing like that will help you feel better, raise your mood, raise how you're feeling and your confidence in your workplace. Prepare, prepare, prepare. I think we've talked about that a lot in the session today. Mindset, I can rather than I can't. Some great stuff again coming into the chat. Baking a cake for colleagues, love that, Suzanne. Breathing exercises, box breathing you might have heard before. Take a big breath in, hold it, breath out, hold it, breath in, hold it. All of those things, if you've got kind of a little bit of anxiety going on, those kind of butterflies in your stomach, box breathing, checking in with yourself really, really helps and supports where you're feeling emotionally and mentally and physically. And don't forget that power of yet. If you're saying to yourself, I can't do this, stick a yet on the end. I can't do this yet. So what do I need to do to be able to be that I can do that? What are you excited about going back? Are you excited about seeing your friends and your colleagues and getting back into routine? And, actually, let's think about that really positive stuff. What is the great stuff about going back? Finally meeting my colleagues, Josh. Absolutely. That's going to be a lovely moment, actually, isn't it? If you haven't met the social events, Anita says. Yeah, fantastic. And actually, let's just be really grateful for the situation that we're in, because we've had such a tough time of it. And I don't know, we did a check-in to locality at the beginning of the session. Everybody's around the country. I'm in the West Country in Devon. Probably where you are as well. The sun is shining today. Everybody's feeling so good that rain has stopped. Be grateful for the sunshine, and how you feel about things. Put your clothes up, pack your bag, get ready, contact your workmates and friends, talk to people. And for some people, write that down. Write down how that feels. Okay, so some great stuff again coming into the chat. So yeah, excited for a different environment, excited for not wearing jogging bottoms every day. I love that. Simran says, excited for meeting new colleagues. Started the apprenticeship during lockdown. Michelle says, same here. Not having back-to-back Zoom meetings. Zara says, I'm with you on the jogging bottoms. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Absolutely. So I want you to think about, again, I just want you to take away just one thing from today's session, just one word. I'm going to give you just a minute just to write down that one word of your takeaway from today's session. What I'm going to ask you to do while you're doing that is just get your phone to hand for me, because we're going to build a bit of a word cloud together. So write down your word for me, and we're going to do a little bit of a word cloud is here. Just grab your phone, and I'm going to give you some further details in just a second. Okay, so on your phone, and you can do this on your browser or your laptop or your tablet or whatever else you're on as well. We're going to build a word cloud together, and this is how we're going to do it. The one thing that you're going to do differently following today's session, that one key takeaway, that one word, I'd like you on your phone to go to polev.com, polev.com, and it asks you to pop your name in. Don't worry, your name won't come up on the screen, and it'll ask you for a code. And you'll see that code on the screen right now, Quantum Rise 759. I'll put it in the chat as well. Quantum Rise 759. Oh, I'll stick it in capitals. Quantum Rise 759. And then it'll ask you for your word in the box, and just pop your word in the box and send that through your phone for me right now. If you can't access that at the moment, just put your word into the chat for me instead. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to launch the activity, and just send your word through to me now. And we're going to start building our word cloud with our one word that's our key takeaway from today's session. Quantum Rise 759, and just give me your word, and we'll see them start to pop up on the screen in a sec. The poll is locked. Oh, apologies. Try again for me. Oh, it might be, it looks like we're having a little bit of tech issue. Let's just give it a second. It's unlocked, it shouldn't. Try again for me, just try that. Thank you, it's on now. Thank you so much. There we go. So self-awareness, optimistic, plan, preparation, chill. I love that. Just chill a little bit afterwards, that's okay. Here we go. And you'll notice the more times the same word gets put in, the bigger the word will become as well. Open, accept, positivity, planning, visualize. Brilliant. And if you've put a word in, you can feel free to go back and put a second word in should you want to as well. Excellent. Breathe, I like that. Positivity, excellent. It's that positive mindset, I can rather than I can't. Confidence, brilliant. Strengths, love that. Absolutely love that. Preparation, positivity, acceptance, excited. Yeah, brilliant. Some really great words coming up here today. Fantastic. Just going to let that run for another minute, see how much we can get onto our word cloud. Perspective. Yeah, sometimes it's just having a bit of perspective on stuff, being a bit calmer about things. One thing I was taught when I was in corporate world, think about someone who you really admire and ask yourself, what would they do? What would that person do? If they found themselves in the position when they were worried about going back into the workplace, what would that person do? I often found that helped with perspective quite a lot as well. Yeah, so we've got some good words in the chat as well. We've got relax, we've got I can, we've got confidence, self-awareness, brilliant. Guts, brilliant, optimistic, some really nice big positive words there. Brilliant, thank you so much, guys. I'm going to leave that running in the background. Just pause that now so I can go back to my slides, but thank you so much for everybody who did pop one of those words in. That's fantastic, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for your engagement and your interaction in the session today. I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's really allowed you to take something away. There's lots of information around mental toughness if that is something that you're interested in learning more about. You know, there's lots of stuff on LinkedIn. Just Google mental toughness. There's a huge amount of research that happens around it, around the world globally, particularly in industries that are struggling at the moment, such as aviation, education, and how we can really consider thinking about how we think, how we behave, and our self-awareness that we talked about earlier, which really starts to give us those coping strategies and how we feel about ourselves and taking on the world at this difficult time. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your interaction, your engagement. Hope to see you again on a session at some point too. Do get in touch. Do join me on LinkedIn if you are on LinkedIn, Erica Farmer. Send me a little message request. It'll be great to link in with you. Good luck going back to the workplace and smashing it on your apprenticeship, which I'm sure you're doing already. And I'll see you again some point soon. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Feel free to leave the session now.